Let's go Dolphins! Something absolutely shocking has happened in Miami, and I promise you, it wasn't on anyone's offseason bingo card. While the fans were busy debating offensive line depth and cornerback help, Chris Grier, yes, the same Chris Grier who should have been fired a long time ago, made a move that no one saw coming. A move so unexpected, so bizarre, and so risky, it might just work. This is a former Pro Bowl point guard, a guy who's literally retired from football, who suddenly decided he wants one last chance, but only if it's with the Miami Dolphins. What does he know that we don't? The locker room is in turmoil, the fans are divided, and believe me, what I'm about to tell you changes everything about this offense. But before I tell you everything, make sure you hit like, but only if you're bleeding teal and orange with every heartbreak and false dawn. If you've stuck with this team through thick and thin, leave a comment right now. Go Dolphins! My heart bleeds teal and orange. Okay, let's get to the full story, because the Dolphins just made a play that could be pure genius, or another Grier disaster in the making. So here's the deal. Darren Waller is coming out of retirement to join the Miami Dolphins on a one-year deal worth up to $5 million. Yes, you heard that right. Darren Waller, the former Pro Bowl tight end who had essentially hung up his cleats, is now set to wear aqua and orange. The move was finalized in a trade that sent a conditional 2027 sixth-round pick to the New York Giants. In return, the Dolphins not only secured Waller but also got back a 2027 seventh-round pick. This is what you call a low-risk, high-reward maneuver. But don't let the subtle trade details fool you. This could have major implications for the offense. Waller, who turns 33 in September, is not just another name being added to the roster. He's a 6'6", 238-pound athletic freak with a wide receiver speed and tight end physicality. His best seasons came in 2019 and 2020 with the Raiders, when he racked up over 1,100 receiving yards in each season. In 2020, he recorded a jaw-dropping 107 catches, 1,196 yards, and 9 touchdowns, truly elite numbers for any tight end. That kind of production isn't easily replicated, especially after taking a year off. But according to reports, Waller is refreshed both mentally and physically and is eager to give it one more go, only for Miami. It's worth noting that this reunion has an interesting backstory. Waller previously worked with Dolphins offensive coordinator Frank Smith, who was his tight ends coach during those explosive years in Vegas. That familiarity with the system could be the key to unlocking whatever juice Waller still has left. Add tight ends coach John Embry into the mix, and there's some real potential here for magic, especially in Mike McDaniel's dynamic offensive scheme. Still, let's not kid ourselves, this isn't the tight end move anyone was expecting. Fans and analysts alike were buzzing about names like Cole Kmet, Kyle Pitts, Mark Andrews, and even Michael Mayer. Waller didn't even make the short list of rumored targets. So when the trade news dropped, it felt like a curveball from left field. But maybe, just maybe, that's exactly what this offense needs, a surprise X-factor with nothing to lose and everything to prove. Now let's take a look at what this does to the offensive skill group. You've got Tua Tagovailoa at quarterback, a trio of explosive running backs in Devon Achane, Jalen Wright, and even the versatile Gordon, who could be in the mix. Wide receiver depth, stacked. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Nick Westbrook-Akine, and Malik Washington provide one of the most electric receiving core in the NFL. Add in Pharaoh Brown and now Darren Waller at tight end, and suddenly this offense is giving off some serious matchup nightmare vibes. But Dolphins fans, let's be real, this move doesn't come without skepticism. Waller hasn't played since the 2023 season. He retired after a disappointing stint with the Giants and hasn't taken a snap in over a year. The last time we saw him consistently producing was in Vegas 4 years ago. Can he still move like he used to? Can his body hold up to the physical toll of the NFL? Is he truly motivated, or is this just a one-year cash grab? All fair questions that demand answers. Then there's the question of fit. Mike McDaniel's offense isn't centered around tight ends the way some other systems are. Last season, Jonnu Smith had 111 targets, but that was more of an exception than the norm. With playmakers like Hill and Waddle commanding attention, and Achane being utilized heavily in the passing game, there's a real possibility that Waller's role will be more situational than central. But that could work in his favor, giving him the space and mismatches he thrives on. And let's not forget the ever-present issues that still linger on the roster. Cornerback depth remains a concern, and the offensive line still needs reinforcing. If the Dolphins want to be real Super Bowl contenders, those gaps have to be addressed. Grier has already whiffed on too many key decisions. Waller might be a nice addition, but it's not enough to cover up the other holes. Still, there's no denying that Waller's arrival adds a new layer of intrigue to this already potent offense. If he can stay healthy, if he can connect with Tua, And if Frank Smith can reignite the flame from their Raiders days, this could end up being one of the sneakiest good moves of the offseason. Or it could be another Grier misstep in a long line of gambles that never quite paid off. But here's where I want to turn it over to you, Dolphins Nation. How are we feeling about this one? Are you excited about Darren Waller's return? Or are you skeptical that he can still deliver at a high level? Do you think this changes the trajectory of the offense? Or is it just another wait-and-see situation? Let's continue right where we left off, because this story is far from over. Darren Waller might be the headline, but the real drama is what this move reveals about the Miami Dolphins front office and their mindset heading into a crucial season. We know this team is in win-now mode. Tua's fifth-year option has already been picked up, and there's pressure mounting on both Mike McDaniel and the players to deliver something meaningful in 2025. That urgency makes the Waller acquisition feel like more than just a flyer. It feels like a calculated roll of the dice from a front office trying to squeeze every ounce of potential from this current window. But again, let's not pretend this was some masterclass from Chris Grier. This is the same general manager who's let offensive line depth slide year after year and who still hasn't solidified the secondary. Grier should have been fired after last season's collapse. Instead, he's still calling the shots, and this move is more desperation than genius. Let's go deeper into why Waller might actually make or break some aspects of this offense. The Dolphins aren't just adding another tight end to the roster, they're adding a former Pro Bowler with rare mismatch potential. Waller's size and speed make him a nightmare for linebackers and safeties. If, and that's a big if, he can stay healthy, this is a guy who could thrive in red zone packages, on third down conversions, and as a decoy to free up Tyreek and Waddle. But there's also the question of chemistry. Tua has never played with a tight end like Waller. The closest comparison was Mike Gesicki, and even then, Gesicki was underutilized in this scheme. Will McDaniel finally commit to scheming for a tight end, or will Waller become another ghost in the playbook? And speaking of playbook, let's talk about what Waller could do for Mike McDaniel's offensive creativity. When you add a chess piece like Waller, you give McDaniel more flexibility to move guys around, lining up in the slot, outside, in motion, even in stacked formations. If used correctly, Waller could be the spark that unlocks a more unpredictable version of this offense. But it'll require McDaniel to evolve. The Dolphins leaned heavily on 21 and 11 personnel last year, often ignoring the tight end in favor of fullback formations. Now, with Waller, we might see more 12 personnel looks, dual tight end sets, or even spread formations that isolate defenders. But fans are already asking the bigger question. What's the real upside here? Are we truly looking at a player who can help the Dolphins reach the AFC Championship? Or is this another nostalgic name value signing that doesn't pan out? Waller's production with the Giants was underwhelming, sure, but you can blame some of that on scheme and injury. In Miami, there's a better supporting cast, better weather, and arguably a better quarterback situation. All the pieces are there, but Waller's ability to execute is the real X factor. Off the field, this move also signals something else. Veterans want to play in Miami. Waller made it known that he only wanted to come back if it was for the Dolphins. That kind of statement can't be overlooked. It means McDaniel has built a locker room culture that veterans respect. It means the Dolphins are now seen as a desirable destination. That's a win in itself, but it also raises the stakes. With great appeal comes great responsibility. This team can't afford to waste another year falling short in the playoffs. Every roster move from here on out has to push toward one goal, getting over that postseason hump. Let's pivot briefly to the ripple effect this move could have. First, what does this mean for Pharaoh Brown? He's been a solid blocker with some sneaky upside as a pass catcher, but if Waller is healthy, Brown might see his role shift dramatically. Then there's Julian Hill and Tanner Conner, young guys fighting for roster spots. Waller's arrival could push one or both off the 53-man roster unless the Dolphins carry 4 tight ends, which is unlikely. It's going to be a fierce battle in training camp, and we'll be watching closely to see how it shakes out. Also, let's not forget the impact this could have on game planning against top defenses. When you're facing the Bills, Chiefs, or even the Jets with their elite corners, having a reliable tight end like Waller gives you another option when your WR1 and WR2 are double covered. He could be the release valve Tua needs when protection breaks down or when defenses start throwing exotic looks. That's where Waller's presence might be felt most, not in the stat sheet, but in those clutch, gritty moments that decide games. Still, this doesn't fix everything. We're one injury away from being dangerously thin at cornerback, and the offensive line still lacks depth that can hold up against elite pass rushers. Until those issues are addressed, no signing, including Waller, will fully quiet the critics. And let's be real, Chris Grier's track record gives no reason for blind faith. This is a make-or-break year for Grier as much as it is for this roster. In the end, this move is about hope. It's about the chance, however slim, that Darren Waller still has gas in the tank and can give this team one explosive year. It's about squeezing value out of a low-cost gamble and trusting in your coaching staff to unlock something that's been dormant. Will it work? Only time will tell. But if it does, we might look back on this summer surprise as one of the smartest under-the-radar acquisitions in recent memory. If you're still watching and you're fired up about what this offense might look like with Darren Waller in the mix, hit that subscribe button right now. Smash the like if you believe this team is what it takes to go all the way. And be sure to check out the next video on screen, where we're breaking down the Dolphins' biggest concerns heading into training camp. Go Dolphins!